Hello and welcome to Citizen Speak. My name is Garrett Martin. I'm your host here. So let's talk about the current primary situation for both the Republicans and the Democrats. It's really interesting on both sides. You have on the Democratic side only two contenders left. On the Republican side you have four, almost three. Little baby Rubio is about to drop out. But let's start off with the Democrats. So where we stand right now, before Saturday voting goes into effect, or we have the real Super Tuesday, the bigger states. We have Clinton, who is at 768 delegates, and Sanders, who's at 553 delegates. This isn't counting super delegates. Get it out of your head that super delegates actually matter in the race at all. It's just a way to inflate Hillary's numbers to make it seem like Bernie Sanders stands no chance. That's what the modern day mainstream media is doing, is just smearing it across the board, hoping to get Bernie Sanders voters to swing over to Hillary and hopes to get her more votes so that way she can fend off Bernie Sanders. So realistically, there's only 215 delegates that separate them. And either candidate needs 2,383 delegates to win the nomination. So there's plenty of race left. There's some really key states that are coming up, especially on Tuesday. So both candidates, they do still stand a strong chance. But as the race continues on, the mask of Hillary Clinton is slowly being chipped away. She tries to paint herself as a champion of equality, and as people look more and more into her past, they see that no, she's really not. She was a Republican in college. She stood against equal opportunity. She wasn't for gay marriage up until she realized that it started to get her votes. So we also have what's coming up now in the media of the situation in Honduras. During 2009, there was a coup in Honduras, and some of the key people involved in the coup are saying that Hillary Clinton was one of the main figureheads of the coup and supported it. Now, Honduras has become a very violent place to go to, and it's even worse for the people who live there. But it's starting to show that her record isn't quite what it was chopped up to be. And as we see that Sanders is starting to make a lot of ground over Hillary Clinton now. Just recently, the lead that Hillary Clinton held over Sanders nationally dropped to 7%. So it started off where she was trouncing him by 50 points, and now it's only 7 points. So we see that when people are turning out to vote, that the polls aren't correct, and that the mainstream media like NBC, CNN, and MSNBC, they are furious. They're basically saying, well, we're telling you how to vote. Why aren't you voting our way? This is not how it's supposed to go. The polls clearly show that she was the front runner, and she should have won. And so when Sanders wins these states, they're saying, oh, well, he was going to win anyway, or the voters weren't properly informed. They're making up every excuse under the sun to put down Bernie Sanders. And that's completely fine. They're a pocket of the Democrats, of the establishment. So they're not wanting somebody who's kind of an outsider, so to say, to come in and take over the party. But as we saw in Michigan, that Sanders was down 20 points in the polls, and he won Michigan. Granted, it's only by like a point and a half after all the votes had settled, but he came from 20 points behind. So is it a great win for him? No, the delegates were pretty much split down the middle for him. Obviously, he was in favor of getting more delegates, but he didn't win nearly as many as what he needed to. Sanders, in order to win the nomination, he has to get 54% of the unpledged delegates, people who haven't voted yet, states that are going to be key for him to win. He has to win 54% of the remaining delegates that are out there. And this does not count superdelegates, so completely get that out of your mind. Superdelegates, for the most part, can change at any point in time, and they're irrelevant at this point in the race. So it's a stretch. It is a stretch for Bernie Sanders to win 54%. But at the same time, seeing all the strides that he's made as far as victories go, he was supposed to be trounced in Iowa. He tied in Iowa. He was supposed to be trounced in Michigan. He won in Michigan. Almost every state that we're coming up to at the start of the race, he was expected to lose very badly. And it was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's race. And you can see that during the last debate, when Bernie Sanders got a standing ovation, you saw a very nervous and frustrated Hillary. She could not believe that he won over the crowd, and she lost so badly. So this coming Tuesday, when we have states like Missouri and North Carolina and Florida vote, here's what I predict. I predict that Hillary's going to win Missouri and North Carolina. I think that Bernie Sanders is going to win Ohio, Illinois, and Florida. They're all rich with delegates, and he could score really big, and this could close the gap greatly between the two candidates. So right here on Tuesday, I think is more important than the first Super Tuesday. I think that this is the real Super Tuesday. I think there's more delegates, there's more of a chance for a snowball effect. But on the flip side, if Bernie Sanders loses bad on Tuesday, the game might be done, honestly. So let's talk about the Republicans, since we got to get to it. The candidate that I would like to see most win the Republican nomination would be John Kasich. Out of the four that are running, I say three because I don't count Rubio. I said it earlier. If he doesn't win well in Florida, which early voting is showing that he's losing so far in Florida, he's out of the race. His campaign manager even told Rubio supporters to vote for Kasich in Ohio. It's a clear sign that Rubio is on the way out. So I want Kasich to win. He's the least crazy of all of the candidates on the GOP side. However, and hear me out here, I think that Trump, he sounds crazy, by all means. And he comes off as a bigot because of what he says and how he acts. He comes off as a racist. But I think that it's all calculated. If you go back and look at his record of things that he said, I believe it was 1998 on the Oprah show, he said that if he were to ever run for president, and you may have heard this before, but if he were to ever run as president, he would run as Republican because they are the stupidest voters, and he would win because they're so uneducated. Also, he supported Hillary Clinton in 2008. He endorsed her. So I don't think that this is necessarily for him to win the presidency. And if he did, what you would see another Democrat or more liberal-leaning person on the GOP side who is only holding the GOP title just for a title and for a chance to win the White House. But I think ultimately it's just to give Hillary or the Democrats a better chance at winning. Because it's a scary time when you have your candidate who's just been in office for 8 years step out because he's at the end of his terms. So then it's up in the air of who's going to be the next president. And do you want to go backwards with social policies, or do you want to go forwards? So I think if Trump were to become the GOP nominee, it's not nearly as bad as what everybody thinks. I think that the crazy right-wing supporters of Trump would be furious come his inauguration. So Cruz, he also stands a fair shot. He has a decent amount of delegates so far in the race. There's plenty of winner-take-all states coming up that he stands a chance in. He's making a strong push because Trump has had some bad publicity over the past couple of days since the last debate. But I think that if Cruz were to become the president, he would be a disaster for our country. He's in the pocket of big oil. He's in the pocket of science deniers. He is very heavily against the First Amendment. You know, the separation of church and state, the thing where he keeps saying that he thinks that everybody is equal, but yet he's introduced quite a few religious liberty bills. I don't know if you know what they are, but a religious liberty bill doesn't mean that you have the right to believe however you want. You already do. It's protected under the First Amendment, separation of church and state. So you can believe however you want. But what his religious liberty bills would do would make it so it would be legal to discriminate based on faith. So if you're Christian or Catholic or whatever religion that you are, and somebody comes into your bakery or your pizza place or your place of business in general, and you think that they're gay or Muslim or a different background than what you like, you would be able to discriminate against them and deny them services. Well, I hate to break it to you, but it goes both ways. So we see that the Muslim population of America is growing very fast. So if you create this bill, then you're basically saying that you're okay for Muslims to deny services to Christians. I don't think that anybody should be denying service to anyone based on faith or sexual preference or ethnicity or any of the protected classes that we have. If it's based on faith, why they are discriminating, I think that it's wrong and it shouldn't be legal at all. So we would lose all progress that we've made over the past 8 years. That's what would happen if Ted Cruz were president. We would backtrack on gay marriage. We would backtrack on progress for universal health care. We would lose the progress that we've made so far. So that's what I think so far as the race for the White House goes on both the Democratic side and the Republican side. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Find me on Twitter at CITZSpeak. That's at SitSpeak. If you have any questions or want me to talk about a certain issue, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Also, I like to do interviews, so if you have something politically charged to say, let me know. I'll hear you out, and if we can be polite about it, then I'll have you on the show, and we'll have a good interview. All right, thank you so much for listening. Again, find me on Twitter at CITZSpeak. Thank you for listening to Citizen Speak.